Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the House of Holocrons podcast. This evening we're going to be talking about Jedi, Sith, and the dogmatic views of both. Are they right? Are they wrong? Is anyone ever actually correct? We will start out talking about, I think a fun hot topic is the Jedi. First off, I'll ask a simple question. Are the Jedi the good guys? What do you think?
Mm, it,
Eh?
it depends.
It depends. Okay. Mike, are the Jedi the good guys?
Oh, it's a complicated answer, but I mean, on a simple way to look at it, yes.
Right.
But in a real way to look at it, I mean, there's never everything's at black and white. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I guess if you go in a black and white standpoint, yes, they're the good.
Right, because that's what George Lucas kind of, the black and white perspective George Lucas says is the Jedi have blue and green because they're the good guys.
Yeah.
Sith have red, bad guys. Which is even funnier though, because then like you get to the TIE fighter and the TIE fighter shoots green lasers, but all the rebellion ships shoot red lasers. So you're like, wait, hold on, I thought green was for good guys. To me, I would say, yeah, in like what you said, in a simple view, Jedi are of course the good guys. In a real world view, Jedi are the attempt to always be the good guy in a situation. That doesn't always happen because even like in today's world, oh, we're gonna go save these people from their oppressive government. Okay, well, not all of them want to be saved. Some of them are very rich because of this oppressive government, and they don't want you to come in and save them all.
Yeah, I think they started off good. Like, they had the good intention, but then they got into the government and they got into the pockets of everything, or something got into their pockets, and they started going how the Republic wants to go.
Yeah, because to me, with Legends, I always go back to the Jedi Order, which understood, oh no, it's both. The Force, to be in true balance, is understanding the darkness and the light. Whereas the Jedi, even like Revan's Old Republic, which, that's only like a 15,000 year difference. Ooh, that's a lot of time, honestly, but the Jedi seem to become far more wrapped up in the Republic. Where it was at first, the Jedi cared about the Force. Now it's almost like the Jedi are the Republic, and the Republic is the Jedi.
Yeah, they're more militarized in a sense compared to the what we see the Jedi during the kind of the early kind of the one, two,
Earlier,
and three
yeah.
movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that you brought up that point earlier when we were a while back too. That yeah, during the Clone Wars especially, that's not the Jedi that a lot of people would remember. These are not the sages and the philosophers. These are warriors, and they always called themselves knights. But that was just a term, of course, that was used to represent chivalry and honor,
Yeah.
to kind of tie it into our moral sense in this world. But
It Yeah, it's a weird way to look at it because, you know, do they the way they kind of preach themselves is they always see themselves as a representation of what we see as kind of our world version of the Shaolin monks, where they kind of this whole tranquil meditation view, but they don't always project that way, and it shows a lot in those movies because yes, they get to a point where they have to get involved.
yeah,
They can no longer sit by the sidelines as a speaker anymore. They
but
have
then
to
that's also
actually-
the kind of thing is they get involved in only specific items. They're not trying to end the slave trade in hut space because, for one, they don't want to take on all of the huts, and for two, they know that the Republic gets paid and like a bunch of people make money off of dealing with the cartels. So it's like not the Senate is never going to send the Jedi to go free all the slaves in hut space ever. Because they don't want to start that war. They don't want to start a huge schism, which, yes, like, so what option is more, just freeing all these slaves or millions dying in a war because you went to go free
And
slaves?
that's why I like the episode 1, because he really addresses that. He's like, why can't you free all of us?
Yeah.
Because that's not what we do. But you're the good guys.
There's a comic actually. The episode 1 comic has a really fun panel where Qui-Gon is having that talk with Anakin about how like, oh, I can't save everybody. I can't just go around with my lightsaber killing all the masters and freeing all of the slaves. That's not good. That is like lawful evil, not lawful good. But
I mean,
then he like saves a few slaves by giving them water. He's like, no, you have to treat your slaves better. You can't let them die of dehydration like this. And he gets in a fight with their master, and then Force persuades him and like makes him see like, no, you're wrong. I'm not going to take your slaves from you, but you have to treat them better.
yeah, they've always been kind of a, you know, a subtle diplomat, kind of manipulate things here and there best they can. And honestly, they probably would have stayed that way if it wasn't for the manipulation of Sidious.
Yeah.
He kind of baited them out. And of course, he encouraged them to stay out in the fight when he started implementing small Sith lords here and there.
Yeah.
That's kind of when they started seeing the dark side being in kind of the head of all this. Then they're like, yeah, we got to actually lead this war, because this is no longer just war between nations. This is a war between the light and the dark.
And they kind of make them generals too. Sorry to interrupt, but they make them generals, and it's almost on purpose. I feel like, because if you make the Jedi generals, then they're leaders. They're looked up to. The clones idolize a lot of the Jedi, and then that kind of helps muddle the water a little bit more for the Jedi to be like, oh well, I know I'm not supposed to have attachment. I'm not supposed to have ideas of grandiose within myself, but I'm called general. I'm saving planets. People are coming up to me and being like, oh, the saviors.
Well, and as a veteran, there's no way you can keep emotions out of battle. It's impossible. So that was actually pretty genius of him to start the downfall of the Jedi Order, is to get them in a war.
Yeah.
Because that brings out their attachments, the war, it's just all their emotions evolve, because you spend years with the same men over and over, and then they die right in front of you. How do you not get angry or upset?
I would argue that the downfall of the Jedi actually started in the High Republic.
Yeah.
Because they started to become the dogs of the Republic.
True.
Like they started working for them, and that's where it started. Because it's only a couple hundred years.
It's like the High Republic Phase 1 is coming that's actually towards the end of the High Republic.
Yeah.
So it's only like, I think, like 100 years before Phantom Menace.
Yeah. So they're starting to get that grandiose, like, oh, I'm important to the Republic, so I must be important, and they're starting to internalize that.
And you can see it because the Republic is funding them to do things like, oh, we're going to help build Starlight Beacon for you.
Yeah.
We already see that even leading up into the movies, even the prior stuff. We go up to the Phantom Menace and any of the stuff leading up to the Phantom Menace, and we'll probably see the Acolyte, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of, because of what you're mentioning, they kind of get this whole elitism status.
Yeah.
Where they kind of put themselves above everyone else instead of this kind of humble monk meditation type.
Right.
Where they should be.
Yes.
But.
Or like the Dai Bendu monks. The Dai Bendu monks want nothing to do with the Republic or the Sith, or like with Orla Jareni, a Wayfinder or Wayseeker. She wears all white. But then you look at the Jedi, and they're wearing gold and browns and all this gilding.
What do we see the new colors are? Like blue and gold and
the Phase 2 colors are blue and gold, so they are justice now.
Well, and that's when you'll see that I'm not as familiar with the High Republic as you are, so most of my references will be a bit later. But you will see that in any interactions with the Jedi Council especially, they're almost like a royal council in a way. I mean, you even see that in Episode 1 when they're dealing with Anakin. He's a young kid, and they're just tearing him down. Yeah. And I'm fine with them being blunt, but the way they speak is just so superior to everyone else, and that just seems, when we equate it to what we have as leaders in these large monk temples, and the way they speak to people is not the same way. And it's typically more of a humble approach, or more grounded approach, and that is.
I won't say Mace. I'm not going to say that Mace Windu single-handedly ruined Anakin, because I'm not on that camp. but he definitely always talks about Anakin, even when he's in the room, not to Anakin. Especially when he's like, no, he's too old, don't do it. And, Master Yoda was the first one to really be like, how do you feel, young boy? And he's like, scared. And he's like, fear leads to anger. And instead of, like, trying to comfort him and be like, well, that's okay, you don't have to be afraid, he immediately goes into lesson mode. He goes into Master Yoda.
You get so ingrained in the same people over and over again, you forget to treat people like people.
And if you've been there for 800 years, how would you not?
Yeah. Because he's been training younglings for over half that time.
Oh yeah, way over half that time we don't even know when exactly he started being a master in training, but that Yoda species is a whole weird thing. Because they're all powerful, but they only see 3 of them, so obviously their whole species isn't super powerful, or they'd all be Jedi.
But where are the rest of them?
Where are the rest of them? Are there only 3 of them? Do they come from a planet that can only house 10 people at one time? So to me, though, also, like, the Jedi, because of they allow themselves to really feel this superiority, that's what leads to things like Pong Krell. Pong Krell is a great excuse, or a great, demonstration of a fallen Jedi who still doesn't know he's fallen. Because he's just like, no, this is all stupid. If I just kill the clones and go over to the independent systems, the CIS, and work with Dooku and them, we're going to liberate all of this, we're going to stop all of this, there'll never be any more wars. Which you can kind of get in the Old Republic legends with Revan and Malik. They were like, there are people being murdered by Mandalorians, entire worlds. The Cathar were literally almost driven to extinction, and you're not stepping in. We have to save these people.
Well, Revan's descent was originally for a good reason.
Yeah. I feel
in
like
a way, you could argue that he never fully turned to the dark side.
A lot of Jedi, it seems, they do not fall to the dark side when they become dark Jedi or fallen Jedi, but it's just, like with Dooku, it was a prolonged use of the dark side that they corrupted him into being more vicious and evil. But when they start, any fallen Jedi starts on that path for a good reason, usually.
Basically tired of the bureaucratic side of things, and
that's always what it
issue.
is. Yeah, they're always just like, why is the Republic and the financial, like, why are the finances even talked about? We don't care about finances.
Yeah.
We shouldn't care about money. We shouldn't care about rewards. We're here to save people.
Yeah, imagine
That's where, like, the idea of they're not great. They're not the greatest.
Them tied so close to the Republic, it also hinders them so much. They favor the Republic so much, they almost ignore the downside of the Republic because of the benefit the Republic has and the benefit that they give them as they get to support the Jedi Order so much. So they kind of have to turn a blind eye to some of the Republic stuff that goes on.
Yeah, and with the High Republic, you can, when you read through a lot of the books and comics, there are these outposts on, like, the far outer rims of Republic space that haven't really touched the full outer rim yet, but these Jedi who are in these really backwood temples are way more original Jedi and, like, minded in the Force more than politics than the Jedis on Coruscant. The Republic didn't help, but the public also didn't help because then they idolized the Jedi as well with their super magic powers. But when you're on, like, the very frontier of space and you're in a temple with 12 other Jedis, only 2 of you are masters, and the only people you know are the farmers that you help farm their fields sometimes, you have a much more humble, like, Shaolin monk kind of view on the world.
I think they forget the whole idea what the Force is when they get to that spot. And that's kind of when you started getting into closer to the Phantom Menace. I'm sure that it shows it in the High Republic. That they lose the idea what the true view of the Force is. It's the life force that, they say it a million times, that's all around us, that binds us. The Force doesn't care about your politics. It doesn't care about what country you're from. It's the life force.
Yeah.
And they often forget that. They talk about the dark side uses the Force as a tool. Well, so do the Jedi. And that, when we get to this point, they no longer see it as this, this life force that we got to bind all of us together. Now it's a tool to control the dark side.
And that's why I've always liked the dynamic between what the Jedi and the Sith say. The Jedi are always, may the Force be with you. The Sith always say, may the Force serve you. So you can kind of see that dynamic twist in their brains. So speaking of the Force, then on the light side still, a lot of people like to argue between is balance both the dark and the light, or is the darkness corruption and the light side is balance. What is your opinion on that?
I think it's both.
Both?
Like, you have to have a little bit of both.
Yeah, because if you really cut yourself off entirely from emotion, I feel like then why would you?
Yeah,
you don't care. Like, no, I saved these 12 people, so these 13 people, or like, yeah, I saved 12 and 10 died, but that's fine. 2 more lived, so it's more like an android then.
Yeah.
Mike, your opinion on that? Is the Force again? Is it darkness and light, or just light?
If we go by currently what's canon, and this is, I'm gonna go from 2 angles. One going as look at it from what's written, what we have materials. They give materials for both answers.
Yeah.
For both, that it's the balance between light and dark, the middle, and they also provide that the light side's true balance. So it's hard to say which one. I personally say that it's more of me kind of hope that it is the middle, because since the Force, like I said, is the idea that it is the life force. It's the force around us. It's in everything. Nature. If sentient beings didn't get involved, or high intelligent beings didn't get involved, the life has a way of being cruel sometimes. It also has a way of being good. So that's why I say that, because it is, like I said, based on the life force, there's got to be some balance in between. For example, the life cycle between predators and prey.
Yeah.
Then it's cruel, or the idea of natural occurring wildfires.
Yeah.
There's benefits to them, but
Right.
the idea of them was scary, destructive, but in the end it actually creates more life. So I think, I hope that they're smart enough, because it's always changing when you get people writing and things, but I'm hoping they keep that general idea, since they call it the Force, and like I said, it's the whole idea that it is the life force that binds everyone, that it is this kind of balance between good and evil, with the light and dark side. Because Force lightning, it could be looked at as a corrupt version of the Force, but it's still a Force.
Yeah, it is just the Force energized and created into an actual current. And I agree. So we're all unanimous about that one, in this group at least. I also believe that the Force is the balance between the light and dark, because just like you said, if there's never destruction, then the old world would never, then you have these kingdoms that would live on and on and on for centuries and centuries, and they would never be taken down. The wildfire, the ash and the burning off of all the underbrush helps all the trees live, and the trees help the birds live. So if you remove the destruction of the wildfire, the overpopulation will actually destroy everything then. Wolves have to eat the deer, or the deer will overpopulate and eat all the grass, and then we die. So it's like, herbicides and pesticides get rid of some bugs in our food, but then it kills bees, and if the bees die, we all die. So it really is that duality of, you have to have the dark with the light. It's like, you don't know love until you felt it, but you don't know how much you need it until you're alone.
And see, further on that is the light side would be the life of everything, and so the dark side is the death.
Right.
So you can't have dark and balance be the light and dark. You have to have it be one or the other, and that's where that black and white comes in. But you have to have a little bit in each, kind of yin yang in that aspect.
Well, and that's why, even we see that with the Prime Jedi on the floor of the Octu temple, darkness and light in one being. That's the Prime Jedi. And when we go to Tython, they still, that's canon now. Ashla and Bogan, the light side moon and the dark side moon, that's canon. So there has to be.
Anytime we see the pure force, and the Bandu and any pure force represented, it's always light and dark.
Yeah.
They don't pick a side. They're always in the middle between.
Yeah, or like the Mortis arc. The Mortis arc is a big one. Yeah, the brother and the sister. Neither of them are more powerful than the other, and it's the father who has to constantly keep them from squabbling. And he's the most powerful, representing the balance between the two of them, which Anakin was supposed to become that, but then he just kind of takes out all of them in a fit of rage. And So it's like, yes, the dark side is a corrupting force, but that's if you don't, like, if you bathe in the dark side, it will take you. But if you just use it from moment to moment to help, then it doesn't seem to do that bad. Again, it's legend, sadly, but yeah, the Jedi Order and the Dawn of the Jedi, they use both. I mean, they have pure blood Sith Jedi. That would never have happened in the Old Republic after the Jedi Order fails. Never.
Yeah.
Well, no, in a way, we could have seen that with Anakin and the prophecy, because it always talks about him bringing balance to the Force. I've always argued he did bring balance. It just was his very last moment when he pretty much wiped out both the Jedi and the Sith.
Right. He took down.
Luke is the last technically remaining Jedi. Even though there's outliers, but he's no longer part of the Jedi organization. He's his own being. So you could think of Anakin as almost that wildfire that kind of resets the system.
Yeah,
so
because
things
that's why I
be
love
more balanced.
And that's why I love Luke, because like it shows it in his outfit. He wears all black in Return of the Jedi, but wields a green lightsaber. He uses his emotions, his love, and his attachment that his father is not all evil to save him. I mean, and Obi-Wan is like one of the most perfect Jedi ever, but even he was like, he had so much emotion towards Anakin. We see it in the Obi-Wan finale. He's like, then I failed you. And he calls him Darth at the end when he's leaving him. He's given up on Anakin. But Luke was the only one. That's why I love that. I'm sure we've all seen the meme, but it's Ahsoka took the left side, Obi-Wan took the right side, but Luke was the only one to take the whole mask off of Vader.
But you also see his raw emotions too when he finds out that Vader's his father, and he still shows these emotions, but he keeps them. He shows that you can have strong emotions, but as long as you keep them in check. That's when he shines the most, is when he learns to balance his emotions.
Well, because then a lot of people make the argument that the Jedi never really say, the Jedi have never like, oh, you can't love anyone, because Anakin in Episode 2 does talk to Padme about like, no, we're encouraged to love. We're encouraged to love everybody, but it's the attachment and the inability to let go of what we love that leads Anakin to the dark side.
Yeah.
So the Jedi are encouraged to love, but not so, like, it's weird because then if you were to ever mention anything about that to Yoda, I feel like Yoda would immediately jump down your throat and be like, no love is evil, it is.
See, that's why Obi-Wan is such a good Jedi.
Yeah.
Because he can let go of everything.
Right.
He had
It's so
to
emotional.
let go of Satine. Because if he would have held on to her, he would have gone into a rage.
Yeah.
When she died.
And it's even stated, he says, I would have left the order if Satine had simply asked. So, but he didn't. He knew what he had to do. I mean, he lost his friend, he lost his entire family, he lost his love, and he just kept going. But even then, though, he became so cold, I feel like with Yoda, became so cold to attachment that's why he gave up on Anakin after that second fight. He's just like, no, you're just a master of evil now, Darth. Not even going to ever call him Anakin again.
And that's where his downfall is.
Yeah, that's his downfall, which is where he becomes weaker. And like, so we all know, though, it is also can't, like George Lucas said it himself, it is known the dark side will make you more powerful. It's a cheat code. It's like if Anakin is a 10, well, when he turned to Darth Vader, he's an 11. And Sidious is a 9, but had he been a Jedi, he would have been like a 6 or a 7. The dark side is easy because it'll flow through you like a torrent, whereas the light side, you have to really use the bends in the river to get where you need to go. The dark side doesn't care about that. The dark side is just a rapid torrent just going straight.
Which this spoiler kind of goes back to more the High Republic with the training. Whenever he had to figure out, I can't remember whose name, one of the Padawans had to figure out how to get across the bridge.
Oh, not Bill Setafar, Reed Silas.
Yeah.
Reed Silas had to figure out how to get across the bridge. And
so he figured out it's because of everyone around him. It's an attachment, but it's not it's not an emotional attachment.
Yeah, he is attached to the Order. He's attached to all of his fellow Jedi. His master was trying to teach him, like, how do you get across this bridge? Oh, well, the bridge is actually made out of lightsabers and things like that from fallen Jedi. And it's in this room of remembrance. So he had to realize eventually the only way to get across this bridge is through the help and the attachment of your fellow friends in the Jedi Order. So there's some High Republic masters that still kind of get it, and they're like, no, like we all have to be in this together. But yeah, the High Republic is definitely really the beginning of the end. The other
I
fun,
think I think what kind of really starts that idea is it's because of the lack of the dark side,
hmm
that there's no kind of challenge to the dogma that's
yeah,
currently going on. So just kind of the idea of the same, you're preaching to the same people over and
hmm
over, and it just, you kind of this feedback, and so you kind of go in a more extreme and extreme. And Yoda is this wise teacher, but a lot of the stuff he says is quite extreme.
yeah,
Um, and a lot of the stuff he preaches over and over is almost impossible to follow.
kind of like in modern day religion. The man who leads the church almost seems to be perfect and infallible because he's not allowing anyone to see his true self because that's not him anymore. He is now just the leader of this temple or of this church, this congregation. But if it's then he becomes almost unapproachable. Where it's like, oh, we don't want to bother him. We don't want to bother him. So yeah, then they just get stuck in their own little echo chamber, which kind of then to start going a bit more to the dark side. I really enjoy that because I don't know how much of this played a role, but I've always thought the Sith temple underneath Coruscant definitely was a key in helping Palpatine not get recognized and kind of influence the Jedi a little. The Jedi were so proud of themselves that they thought
Yeah.
their arrogance was so mighty that they could take this dark side nexus that is on the top of the highest peak of Coruscant's mountain before it was all a city. So before it was all a city, there was a Sith temple there because it's a dark side nexus on Coruscant. And they thought, oh, well, if we bury this temple over with our temple over it, then we can purify the Force and change it. And the Force can't be changed. It is what it is. A light side nexus is always going to be for the light side, and a dark side nexus will always be about the dark side. So they literally built their grand temple over a spot that is just pouring dark side energy out of it. So it's like when if you're in a really smelly place for too long, you stop smelling it. You'll never smell it again. So then to get onto the dark side, so pretty much I guess we'll wrap up the light side with balance should be both, and arrogance was pretty much the downfall of the Jedi in my books. I'd say it was their arrogance and their pride.
I imagine when we get closer to episode 1, Sidious really doesn't have to hide himself anymore.
Right.
Because they're so arrogant about, so full of themselves that they can't see what's right in front of them. I mean, heck, you can hear when they talk about him developing the clone army
Mhm.
and everything else setting up. They had to see that. The fact, him setting up Darth Maul. There's
Yeah.
no way they wouldn't be able to notice that, but they just were kind of in their own head that.
And it was also convenient. But they didn't ask any questions. Oh, we have a clone
Yeah.
army that's been waiting for us from a dead Jedi Master. Cool. It is also the same thing. Like the only thing Sidious really ever seems to hide is his true essence. He just never lets because he has Sith eyes the entirety after he gets shocked and becomes the Emperor and relieves himself of the Palpatine mask. Mask. Because
Yeah.
Sith love masks.
I mean, his face is pretty much the pure idea of what the corruption can do to you. I mean, he's lived so long and dived so much
Mhm.
into the dark side that's pretty much what it will do to you.
Yeah.
And you see Sith that have kind of gone that way. You see the corruption it
Mhm.
does.
It happens a lot in like the video games. That's like a whole part of
Yeah.
it to know how deep in the dark side you are is how corrupt and like cracked, black veins in your face and stuff, pale gray
Yellow
skin.
eyes.
Yeah, the Sith eyes are a big one, but you have to be in like pure dark side to get Sith eyes. It's like the Super Saiyan of the Sith, which that's why Palpatine always has it because he just said screw it, I'm always in. But like Dooku only has it ever so often in the Clone Wars series and never once in the actual movies. Because again, Dooku was one of those fallen Jedi who was like, I'm doing this to help Sereno and to help my people, and then it just went way to left field.
Maul has them, but I believe he was basically kind of made that way.
Well, yeah, because I think like Mother Talzin
Yeah.
pumped dark side energy into him to make him bigger and stronger, just like with Savage. But that's a fun thing with their kind of magic too. Is the Dathomirian witches are a part of the dark side, but then at the same time, the dark side does give life, but it's in that mentality shift because the Jedi always want to be Force ghosts, to become one with the Force. A Sith wants to control the Force so badly that they will like imbue themselves in a mask, a saber, or an object, and that's how they get their immortality. Poor Palpatine apparently just never wanted to read too much history because like every Sith emperor before him learned essence transfer and how to be immortal. He was the only one who seems to have skipped that class.
Well, I would say that's because of the rule of two.
Yeah, the rule of two screwed the Sith a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh no, I'm only powerful because I took over from a master.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what they taught him before that. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah, and that's where, and it's known that Bane messed up there. Revan meant one master, one apprentice per master, like one apprentice per master. Because if you get 3, then they gang up and kill him, and that's not right. But if there's only 2 Sith ever, then you're only as strong as the strongest Sith. And then if you kill him, and he didn't teach you everything, well, that knowledge is just lost, period.
Yeah.
Gone. And that's the folly of the dark side, then. The dark side, in a sense, is like the Mandalorians almost, where it is a trial by combat. The strongest must survive to keep the strong going, which we see in the animal kingdom. That's why the alpha in a pack has to be one of the strongest for like lions. That's why they fight all the time. Because if you're not the strongest, you can't defend everybody if shit hits the fan. But at the same time, it then leads to, oh, there was a big fight, or these like 4 younger lions gang up on the older lion who's the alpha, and then they just kill him. And now the pride gets all screwed up, and that's what happened to the Sith. But then it went really bad with the Brotherhood of Darkness, because the Brotherhood of Darkness went away from the original Sith teachings and tried to make everyone equal. That's not how the Sith are supposed to operate. You need a Sith Lord. You need a Darth. You need someone who is both making everyone afraid of them and but inspired to be like them.
Well, yeah, the idea of, because they are the bad guys, so their doctrine is pretty selfish, and you can see that in the Sith code. So it's hard to be everybody on equal foot if we're kind of preaching kind of this selfish doctrine. So there's got to be somebody that's going to be the head, and for them to be the head, they're either going to be feared, respected, and they're most likely going to be feared with how they do things. So
then with the dark side,
I kind of want to tie it back into the Dathomirian witches.
Okay.
Because like they are pure dark side. Like they're just pure dark side. So they have kind of that balance from the light side still though, because they give life, right?
It's weird. Yeah, they don't give life to the zombies. They warp
life.
It's a form of life. It's because Dathomirian witches never die.
Yeah.
If you look at it, the way they have like their urns and their magic set up, that green fire rips the soul back out of the ether and throws it in a body that it probably doesn't even belong to.
Right.
And it's just like animated.
Yeah.
Do our work.
And they take the Dathomirian Zabraks and make them stronger, make them through the dark side.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a strength in I would say life-like, because they're imbuing with strength. That ties in that balance again.
True. So what I was going to get on then is, so with the dark side, is the dark side evil? I'll go first real quick. In a sense, it's like everything else. It doesn't want to be evil, but it will quickly fall to that because it's the easier, most direct path. The Empire and like the old Sith, the ancient pure-blooded red Sith, they saw 3 classes. You were either a lord and you were powerful and you were strong and you had pure blood. Like they practiced eugenics 100%. Or you were middle class and you were just nobody, or you were a slave. That's it. Period. And so it's like, is the dark side evil? Because all these empires run on slavery and they're extremely xenophobic, but they bring actual order. Like the crime on it becomes more smugglers and black markety, but crimes on planet does go down when the imperial forces show up and make everyone do what they say. It's like here, it's like a police state. Does it help? Sure, if you're not on the bottom of the ladder, but if you're on the bottom of the ladder, you're just drowning. But if you're a few rungs up, then you're just looking down like, what's your problem? I'm fine. So would you say that the dark side is evil?
depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. But if you're looking at it from an outside perspective, absolutely, because they are oppressing everything. Or they have a lot of slave labor, or they have like genocides or anything like that. So I mean,
scorched earth tactics. They don't care about a planet. They'll destroy it just to kill you. That's one of my favorite things. Nagasado literally causes stars to go supernova so he can escape, which then obliterates entire systems.
Yeah.
Mike, what is your opinion on the dark side's evil ways?
You get into a little bit of philosophy with the idea of it, but when we get to Sith as an organization, I would say yes. We get into the dark side. You're heavy on evil, but there's some arguments there that it's not fully evil.
Yeah.
Like I said, because of the idea of balance, you got to have both sides of the coin. Before you can have renewal, you need to have destruction, and not every type of destruction is bad. Sure, being destructive is it's a lot easier to be bad if you're destructive, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are. But I'd say heavily on the evil side. I would say not every dark side wielder is necessarily evil. So I think you can be a good person and use the dark side of the Force.
Yeah. It's just, then there's that catch-20, because if you use the dark side too much, then it becomes like a drug. And you just keep chasing after more and more and more, which then will turn you into a bad-er person.
Also, one could argue that the Force could also be addictive in a way, too.
Yeah.
The light side.
So then that's a big topic then. Is the Force itself naturally almost unfair? Because...
Well, yeah.
I'm going to say
right.
no.
No? I think the Force is extremely unfair. Because
if you could control the Force, yeah, I think it's unfair.
Yeah.
But in a way that is still balanced, because it has people who can use it and people who can't. And the people who can, it divides that even further into people who want to kill, but people who want to protect.
Yes, but then think about it like with mutants and X-Men. They are hated at first, but then they kind of eventually become loved in a sense.
Absolutely, in that universe, they're absolutely necessary.
Okay, but if you can use the Force, are you then not immediately superior to everyone around you?
Not really.
Why not?
Because if...
No, definition of superiority. Are you not superior if you can use the Force?
Yes and no. Because if you are, it is split. If you are a dark side user, absolutely. Because you can have all the power, you can do whatever it is. But if you're on the light side, you are a servant to those people. In like the grand scheme of things, how the original Jedi Order was.
I mean, as a normal person, if I encountered either one, I would be very skeptical or scared. Even if somebody said they were Jedi, there would be some form of respect, but also in the back of your head, is he mind controlling me right now?
Yeah. Which happens a lot with the Jedi. The Jedi are like,
I'm looking at it philosophically.
Yeah.
But I just asked you by definition, is the Force not superior?
Yes and no.
I mean, arguably the Force is supposed to be everywhere, but yeah.
But some people can't use it. So it is gifted to some people who can use it far more abundantly.
Yeah, and in certain instances, it is gifted to somebody who the Force knows will protect people. So it is balancing itself.
But you want to talk about balance in the Jedi Order, when you go back to that and the Force has been given to someone, they become a protector, but they have to protect everyone, and they always then end up being a ruler, because everyone's like, no, we need you. You can talk to the Force, you can see the future.
And that's where that downfall comes.
I think the disconnect for this would also argue when we get into the Force itself isn't. I think when we get into the Force in its pure form, I think it's balanced completely. I don't think there's any advantage. But when we get into people, as in sentient beings, because we're these other species, but people in general, I'm not just humans, all the other people, that's when the Force is manipulated. That's when there are superior, because everyone has their own agenda. Everyone has their own biases. You could be, top of the mountain on a monk for, pure meditation, but you would still have your faults.
Mhm.
There's no perfect person, even in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
So, but I personally, yeah, when you get into somebody who can manipulate the Force at will, I think they are superior to an average person. Yes.
Yeah, because my big thing with that is if you went full balance, then yes, you would go on the top of a mountain. You would not have to eat. You would not have to breathe or drink or nothing, and you would just be one with the Force, chilling on a mountaintop, in perfect balance.
Sucking on the milk of those creatures.
Yeah, greenish milk. But then at the same time, through doing that, you're doing no good. You're not doing evil, but you're doing nothing. Just like the Force itself is just like you said, the Force, as in the entity or the power, is just back there, just like, I'm just here. I didn't choose to be here. I'm here. Y'all do what you need to do. But that person is doing no good. So if there's a burning village that he can do good and save, but he's like, nope, I must sit on my mountain and meditate, for that is the balance. Then those people die because he will do nothing to save
anybody
them.
would not do anything, though.
I'm not saying you do.
Okay.
But and then that's when you can get into some philosophy, is getting involved in saving that village.
Yeah.
It could also be bad.
Because one of those villagers could be a bad person.
Or that village could be a bad, they could be a raiding village. They
Mhm.
raid nearby villages, or they slaver village.
Yeah.
Or, something could arise from destruction.
That's why it's like it's really hard to play a lawful good person in like D&D, because it's like, oh, well, I need to save the village, it's on fire. Yeah, but the people in there are slavers. Well, that doesn't matter though. I just saved that village of refugees, so I have to save this village of slavers, because it's still a life is a life is a life. But you can't look at it that way, because there's that gray area in the.
That's when you get into the neutral. If you want to get
Mhm.
into the alignment, the alignment idea is skewed a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that instance, they would try to do their best to save what they deem as pure, because in the end of things, it is argued by the views of the person,
Mhm.
and in the grand scheme, like also what the outcomes are. But
Yeah.
if they believe they're doing good, a lot of times you can consider them good as long as they're not doing something completely evil.
Right, and then I guess the ultimate Jedi move would be, yes, I saved the village of slavers, but then I also got them to stop being slavers. And I told them they're all wrong, and I gave them a good breakfast and a back rub, and now everyone's chill, and there
Well,
are
I
no
think-
more slavers.
I think the problem is the Jedi idea is they want to be kind of a neutral good,
Mm-hmm.
but they went too far in the lawful good area.
Yeah.
And then the idea of the pure version of the Force would be a neutral alignment.
Yeah.
Um, whereas the Sith can really be in anywhere in the evil.
Yeah.
What they would like to do.
And again, it's one of those things, yeah, where like, and it's all just how they feel in that moment and what circumstances are surrounding it. Because it's like, again, yes, they're like that mole dude in the Kenobi show. He's like, oh, the Empire brought security and jobs.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I love the Empire. But then you go, to the next village, and they're like, yeah, and the job is that I have to work all day, every day, against my will for like zero pay. So that's not a good thing.
Fear for their life. I mean, it brings prosperity and security to some. It brings fear to many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a catch-22, and they kind of try to mimic a lot of the idea of the kind of an empire state when it gets to like
Right.
major empires, or when you get into which they did a good job. I mean, I don't want to drop major historical names that started, but even when you look at these, what we consider the most evil
Right.
in history, there were people that were part of those states that they loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of the major conquerings. When you get to a lot of places accepted it, they welcomed it because
Right.
they saw it as prosperity, as security, is what they were seeing. Maybe when the Republic disappeared, the local slum wards took over, the
Right.
gangs took over. So their houses are being raided or forced taxed. The Empire came in, they're being taxed, but no longer is it gang violence. That as long as we kind of keep a level head and do what we're told, it's not as bad.
Yeah, right.
But is that good. So it might be better than chaos, but it's not good.
Right.
See, I also want to tie it back into the X-Men thing that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So, the way of thinking that you've got is Magneto's like, they are superior.
Yeah.
I've got the Professor Xavier. They may have powers, but those powers are to help humanity.
But if your power is I just set shit on fire with my mind,
then you are bad. That is the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your personal thing is.
Right.
It is the balance of it.
Or a good one is Avatar: The Last Airbender. A lot of people can bend, a lot of people can't do elemental bending, and those that can feel like they have a responsibility to protect and be soldiers and stuff, but then that leads them to sometimes be corrupt. And as you said, Mike, the real error in all of this is sentient beings. It's so, like, we want to help. We only want to help. But it's the way we think to do it that is entirely construed between good or evil depending on who you ask. Like the reference you were talking about before the guy showed up, the place where he was from was literally burning money to stay warm because they were so poor. Like, money was useless.
Well, he became
So he helped
where
them. Yeah.
He was celebrated when he got into his position. They
Right.
did parades. They were.
But there's
They were
then,
happy.
yeah. But then the problem is, like with the Empire, propaganda is what kept them in that mindset because a lot of them didn't know. Oh, he killed how many people? What?
Well, yeah, with the propaganda, I imagine of the Jedi, I imagine a lot of places probably celebrated Order 66.
Exactly.
Well, considering also there's probably some planets that had bad run-ins with Jedi.
Yeah.
That's also the problem when you do interplanetary diplomats, which is also
Mhm.
what we have issue here, is because your view of how you want to do things, and they have that. You see that actually in the Clone Wars. There's a couple interactions where they fail the diplomacy
Yeah.
because they want their view of how things are. But every culture is different. Everybody has traditions, develop their own way, religions, everything else. So you can't really force that onto, hey, we're the Republic, we're the good guys, join us, but you gotta change this,
Right.
and this.
It's like Nar Shaddaa was totally cool with all the Jedi dying. Nar Shaddaa, Nal Hutta, like the Hutt space of the world, they were like, ah, cool, no more narcs. Hell yeah, I'm gonna go smoke spice sticks and sell these Twi'leks to somebody and make some money and feed my family. Like, to them, it was the best thing that could have ever happened because they're like, I can actually do work now. And I can have a better life. But I have a better life by doing things that are not good to other people and give them a worse life.
Or they could also view it as the Jedi and the clones brought war to their homes. So with them gone, that means the war's over.
I can never remember the planet,
endless.
but yeah, there was that one planet of like the lemur people in the Clone Wars where they were like, no, I don't want either of you all here. The Republic just means that the Separatists will show up, and Separatists just mean the Republic will show up, and then we're just going to die in the middle of the firefight. So, and again, that's like to go into a different time frame, like with the Vietnam War theater. There were a lot of people who were just living in South Island Asia who were just like, I don't want nothing to do with either of you all. How about that? But sadly, they just get, small potatoes don't. No one cares about the small potatoes that get thrown in the pot.
Or people that really, which I'm sure the average person saw no involvement with anything, and even like an average person on Coruscant. It's a city planet. The whole planet's a city.
Right.
So there's so many people there. I imagine they were just seeing the whole war through news.
Yeah.
And so the news puts out that the Jedi turned on the Republic, so they had to kill them. They decided I'm sure they put out that they got too, above themselves, which they're like, yeah, I can believe that. They're like these crazy sorcerers that, they basically manipulate everybody. Now they want to take over because they got their own army they've been leading. They try to take their army onto take over us, and they failed, and the Emperor stopped him. Now he's a hero. And Vader, who championed this crusade, he's Jesus.
So yeah, and that kind of leads what you're talking about with like the normal average person. Then there's the profiteer. There's people in the Republic who set up moments of attack to specifically push war and make it more important. Mostly that was Palpatine, of course, but he had other people supporting him because they knew they'd make money off it. The guy who makes the TIE fighters also makes the X-Wings.
And you see the opposite side of that with the people who make the clones.
Yeah, the Chameleons. Yeah, they make the clones.
You see that in the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
They were losing their income because the Empire decided they don't want to use clones anymore.
Right.
And then, they get bombed and killed. Yeah.
Because the Empire was like, yeah, you guys, you obviously don't like us anymore because we took all of your funding away, and we don't want you making clones to attack us, so blow them up.
Yeah,
you guys know too much?
Yeah, you know too much.
Yeah.
That's a problem with people with things like the Empire, though. If you know too much, you're just as much of a threat as if you know nothing.
Yeah, they knew about Order 66 and all the other top secret stuff. Plus, they could easily poop out another army. So.
Might take a few years, but
right.
they'll get it.
But then, like the Kimonians. Yeah, people of that planet, they themselves had this weird sense of superiority, but also neutrality. But when you go through their history, you realize, oh, no, they did horrible genetic mutations and horrible experiments on their own kind to make them perfect.
And they can't do any more now because they don't have the
Yeah,
original
they
source
can't
code.
reproduce. They don't have the original source code, and like they couldn't even reproduce anymore because of the horrible things they had done to themselves.
Yeah.
But then because of that, it made them such amazing cloners and genetic manipulators. They could literally create armies. Now, all of that then, of course, just leads to Palpatine's trying to essence transfer and create Force-sensitive clones.
Which I feel like would have been a really good end goal for them anyway.
Yeah. It would. I mean, if you could create Force users, the problem, though, is since the Force is an outside perspective that cannot be controlled, how many are going to turn? And then you just end up with the Old Republic. Oh, we got 10,000 Jedi versus 20,000 Sith who are also infighting, but then they're just fighting each other. Because that's when you look through the Old Republic wars, the Jedi Civil War and things like that, that was the most catastrophic for the galactic people as like a whole ever.
Imagine I'm hoping she can use the Force, but I just imagine their idea is like, imagine the clone army. Mm-hmm. But they can also wield the Force.
Right, yeah. So if Omega comes out to be Force sensitive, then they did it. They figured it out. Even before Palpatine could with Snoke and all of his research that he did.
But didn't they already, though? They had already figured it out because of Starkiller.
But that's not canon.
They're trying to make it canon, though, aren't
A
they?
lot of people are trying to make a lot of stuff canon. But, I mean, if it does happen, then yeah. If Galen Merrick, Starkiller, is a clone, then it happened already.
Yeah.
But they could bring Starkiller into canon, and he's not a clone anymore. He's his own person.
True.
Just like they could bring Darth Revan into canon, and he's not a great general. He's just a backstabbing Sith.
Yeah, I like the Kimonians kind of making that blueprint. And that's probably what kind of, once they figured it out, Palpatine probably finds out, they probably send a report up, and that's where he's like, okay, you served your purpose.
Yeah.
You did what I need you to do. I'm going to borrow that, and bye-bye.
Like what happens to the Geonosians. The Geonosians built the original plans for the Death Star, and then Palpatine was just like, I don't like these bugs. Just kill them. Let them die. I don't care.
Served your purpose.
Yeah, I'm reading through Catalyst right now, which is the Rogue One pre-novel, happens before Rogue One, and it takes place with like Galen Erso becoming a part of the Empire and building the Kyber crystal housing for these lasers. Poggle the Lesser is which is the leader of the Geonosian people. When they're celebrating this new Death Star being built, they do so by having a bloodletting and like a huge gladiatorial fight where hundreds of thousands of drones from the Geonosian people die, but they're okay with that. Poggle the Lesser actually uses a riot with his own people to escape, as Krennic is like, they're fighting each other. They're literally killing each other for work. We have to stop this. Poggle the Lesser's like, no, that's just how we do things. The strong get the work and the weak die, and we don't care. Like, there's just such a weird, crazy animalisticness to it. And they don't even have the Force. I've never once heard of a Geonosian Force wielder. But they have like a hive mind, almost. But they just don't care.
I'm sure that they're probably in a natural sense, because when you get into... I'm sure they breed like crazy. And So it probably comes in necessity because that way they won't have, they won't have any resources left. So
Yeah.
it's probably how they maintain.
And that,
I'm just
yeah.
looking at it as a realistic way of looking at it. I'm sure there's probably some stupid written thing about it.
But and that makes sense too. Like with insectoid creatures, that they do breed like crazy, so that you got to do something to keep it from like spewing out and over. And it's either you conquer other planets.
Yeah, when we see them represented, there's millions of them already.
Yeah. But then like it's was it Bad Batch or Rebels? No, in Rebels, then like with Saw Gerrera and all, then they go to Geonosis and there's no one left, and there's one Geonosian guarding. There's just this one Geonosian who is guarding a queen's egg, and Saw Gerrera is like, I don't care, I will shoot that egg right now if you don't tell me what I want to know. And it's like he's a good guy.
Yeah, well,
he's on the good guy side.
He's a good guy that doesn't mind getting dirty. He gets a little corrupted later on. I do like his character though.
Yeah,
he's like, I know it needs to get done, and I don't care if it gets my hands a little bloody in the process.
He's a good guy with a twist.
Yeah, he has, again, the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yep.
He's the superhero equivalent of the anti-hero.
Yeah. The Deadpool for Star Wars.
No.
Nah, I don't know if that's a good comparison.
No.
Maybe
like a Batman.
That's a little better.
That's a little better. Yeah,
I would say more like what's the guy that has the Punisher?
Punisher, yeah. Saw Gerrera, yes.
Yes.
That's way better. He's nowhere near as funny.
No.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera is definitely the Punisher.
More like soldier based too.
Yeah. But yeah, the Saw Gerrera is definitely but that's a prime example of working for the good people, trying to save innocent people, but he has to kill other innocent people to save innocent people. Like the argument for Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker blew up the Death Star, which saved a lot of planets.
We don't
but
talk about
how many people died on that Death Star?
We don't talk about that.
Or with the second Death Star. Again, by this time, in its canon, the Empire is not using Geonosians to build the second Death Star anymore. They're using private contractors and just normal people. And that one gets blown up too, killing a lot of people.
You see that in Rogue One, it's proof that there are people that are working for the Empire that don't want to, they don't have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are innocents that has to be that died.
Yeah. And that kind of conversation really helps lead to where all of this conversation gets to is they're both wrong. Sometimes they're both right. They're right about far less than they're wrong.
But I love that because it makes it more realistic.
Yeah. And that because that is our world. That is how things have always operated here. And it makes it so much more believable. And that's one of the things that's always drawn me into Star Wars is how easy it is to put yourself in that universe and know what people are going through. Like, it's very simple to be empathetic to the Star Wars story. But yeah, so that's always a lot of fun to talk about because, again, yeah, the light side is attempting to always do good and to be helpful and to be nurturing. It's not always going to happen. The dark side is trying to bring order and power, but that doesn't always... What's his problem? Does he need food or something? Okay. I don't even know what we were talking about right before that, babe, but it's okay.
We're closing up.
Yeah, but the he's teething too, so that doesn't help anything. The light side is it does want to help. In the end of all of this, when you just take away all the brass tacks and you just take away all the stuff, the light side of the Force is birth. It is creation. It is a flowing river growing flowers. But the dark side is the wildfire that keeps the flowers and the grass fed and growing. It is the tsunami that, like, it's just recently there was an article I saw where in India, the ocean said screw you and just threw all the trash because of a heavy storm. all the trash from the ocean was now on land again because it was just like, did Mother Nature actually care about the trash in the water? No, I don't think Mother Nature is like that sentient, but it happens to work in a way that it's just like, get the trash out of here.
But just like with the light side and the dark side of the Force, that's why I believe the balance is neutral, because moderation.
Yeah.
Going too far in either direction is, I think, where the downfall. I think that was the downfall of the Jedi, too far into the light side, and the downfall of the Sith was too far in the dark side.
Yeah.
And people, but
so maybe
I think that's where the Force excels, though. It has the balance. It makes its own balance.
It will make its own balance. Yeah, no matter what a person in the Star Wars universe tries to do, it's like, okay, well, here's a Palpatine to help get rid of the Jedi with this Anakin guy, but this Anakin guy, don't worry, he's gonna kill Palpatine guy, and then things are gonna start to reassess and go back to normal. And we know because of like Shadow of the Sith book, there are dark side users still after Anakin and Palpatine are dead. There are still people who wield Sith sabers and attack innocents and are out to make themselves more powerful. The Acolytes of the Beyond, the Knights of Ren. Like, there are dark side users, they're just not as potent. The Force was like, no, Palpatine is so strong and so evil, we have to, like, and the Jedi are so numerous and so pure or so light side, they have to cancel each other out and just kill each other in a sense.
Like I said, there's almost kind of that, or this instead of nature would be the Force doing a reset.
Yeah, exactly, a hard reset. There was an update and the computer reset. All right, so, sorry. So, though, we'll kind of wrap this up then with just a nice fun question. If you could use the Force, realistically, what side do you think you would fall on? I'll go first. It's obvious. The dark side. I have a lot of ideas, and I think they should be listened to. If you don't listen, I might force choke you. It's like Anakin said to Padme, well, we just make everyone do the right thing, and then no one is hurting anymore. You know, so that's just me. I am Magneto. I get it. Mike, if you could use the Force, where do you think you'd fall?
I mean, it's a hard question since every standing I've done with Star Wars has always been with blasters, always bounty hunters or troopers. But
well, I guess that's a cool perspective. If honestly, that's a much better answer. If you'd rather be removed from it.
But if I had to pick, I'd probably find myself on the light side between the two. I like both, but I don't know. I think I'd probably heavy more to the, because when I play games or anything, I typically heavy towards the light side. Though
yeah.
I dip. I don't know. It's a hard one.
It is, but I also kind of like your answer though of like, well, honestly, I'm always just outside of it. I could care less. But you know, you'd be like a Plo Koon. You'd be like, oh, I have Force Lightning too, but it's yellow and I use it for good. Or is it like Force? It's like Judgment's Call or something like Force Judgment, but it's literally Plo Koon can shoot yellow lightning out of himself. It's not canon anymore.
Yellow means it's good.
Yeah, so yellow means it's okay. As long as it's not purple, it's not bad.
Or blue.
Yeah. And how about you, Jess?
I probably would fall light side, but I would most likely be a way seeker.
Yeah.
In a way.
Always out to just help the Force out.
Yeah, because it's you help people, but I don't want to do the whole like you have to be good and you have to be great.
No, that makes sense because I know you're also like in other classes. You're very druidic.
Yeah.
So you're there to help the force of nature continue. Because yeah, you're the person who looks at all of it like, well, technically, I would like to cull all of you because all of you are the problem, but I can't.
Poison ivy.
Yeah, like poison ivy. If we just kill all the humans, the world will be good. But you know, I can't do that.
Yeah, now that you say that, I guess I'd probably more light side because typically I'm not a very emotional person.
Yeah.
So I probably would not have very strong connection to the dark side.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I am all about emotions. I am emotional. They fuel me. My spite to be better than other people is the only reason I've even like started so many of the things I've started.
But it's what makes you a good person.
In the end, I use it to be a good, a okay person. So then, yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us again every single Friday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. The podcast will come out. Again, we will work towards lives eventually, but, you know, we had a baby, and we all have lives, school, and so many other crazy things going on. So we will always at least have an episode out, 5 p.m. Friday, Central Standard Time. Audio on Spotify and Anchor. Video on YouTube under Ducks and Download, the channel you're watching this on right now. And we're so happy you guys could join us. This is a crazy topic, so I really hope to see a lot of comments because everybody's opinion is going to be so different, and I look forward to hearing so many new opinions.
Bring the philosophical debates.
Yes, bring the philosophical debates, but, you know, be respectful because you're not going to agree with everybody. So then, yeah, thank you all so much.
I think the best way to end this episode is may the Force be with you.
And may the Force serve you well. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.